Well, I'm delighted to be joined by head coach Danny Stewart. Danny, welcome and thanks for joining us. I think the first place to start is the first new name on the roster for 24-25, Calgary-born centre Matt Alfaro. Just tell me what attracted you to bring him to the club.
Lots. I mean, I think I can confidently say that, in our league and across Europe, centers is the one thing that teams are always looking for, really good centers. And, Matt's a big, strong guy that plays the middle. He's very skilled as well. On top of that, he can play in all situations. Face offs, he was over 60% last year, which is an area that I value very highly. And there was so much about him. I mean, his resume, he's played in the, good amount of time in the American League and played in situations in the American League, not just a guy that was going out there 3-4 shifts a period. Um, and you know what? He played in Germany last year for a team that kind of spreaded the wealth a little bit with their scoring and stuff, and still put up good numbers. And again, a guy that played in all situations. So, we're really happy to get him on board.
You mentioned a number of things there. I think one I want to kind of pick out is face-off winning because, you said how highly you regard that. I guess, as a coach, that can be so crucial to any play in the offensive or defensive zone.
Yeah, and ultimately, all those big situations and start a power plays or 6-on-5 situations, penalty kills. But ultimately, every team wants to play with the puck. That's the way the game's going now. You want to play with the puck and not be chasing it. So, the more you can start situations with the puck, the better.
And just looking at your roster building so far, you've got your key British players back as an organization. How important was that in your squad building process?
Very important. I mean, I think we've seen it. I've seen it over the years in Coventry, and going into the start of last season where we lost two senior Brits that we'd had for quite a few years, and we felt the effects of it. These guys are the heartbeat of the club. The Betteridges, the Tetlows, Kelso and Logan coming in last year and finding his place on the squad as well. And these guys are the heartbeat. They're the guys that help the imports transition into the culture, get to know the club and kind of, are able to communicate to them and say, hey, this is the way we do things here. And, they're highly valuable off the ice, but also on the ice. The guys that we got, again, guys that can play situations, can play different positions, up and down the lineup. It's crucial that we got all those guys back.
And we talked when you signed about, you wanting to build a core, and that's been obvious by a couple of your import signings so far. Let's take them individually, and let's start with the first one that we announced in Otto Niememan. He walked away with a whole host of awards last year at the player, the end of season awards. How highly do you rate him as a player, and what do you remember from him playing against the Blaze, I guess, last year?
I mean, I obviously rate him very highly. I mean, I got to know a little bit about him 2 seasons ago. He was playing for Paul Thompson in Denmark, and me and Tomo have remained close to this day, and he really spoke well about him. And then when I seen he had signed in Nottingham last year, we kept our eye on him, and a guy that just he does the little things so good, and he's so good around the net and off the puck, and the little details with his stick, on PK and in the offensive zone around the net. Like I said, he's just phenomenal, and his production obviously proved that he has that ability as well. And just an all-around great player who plays with a lot of pace. And I think every team wants to be able to skate well. But skating well and playing with pace and playing fast are two different things sometimes. And he's a smart player that can bring that pace, but also make good decisions so that we can play fast.
And I think if you probably asked most Panthers fans which two import signings would they want back next season, it would have been Otto and Hugo War, who you've also tied up to a deal. Where do you see Hugo War fitting in, and what are his strengths for you?
Again, speed, and goal scoring ability, are the two things that kind of come to mind at first. But again, another guy that's committed to the other side of the puck, works hard, wins puck battles, can play, center, can play wing, has a little bit of versatility as well. So, those two guys, you could see how much they were adored by the fan base, two fan favorites, and that's important as well. You want some familiarity for the fans, and especially when it's two top class players. We're excited to have both of them back.
And just as a whole, I mean, this must be one of the most taxing but fun parts, I guess, as a a coach's season. You're working, I know, with Omar and the club to put the pieces together of the jigsaw. But just tell me how, how I know you've done it many years, but just tell me how you're finding it. Just the terms of like trying to piece those jigsaws together with what you've got available to you.
Yeah, it's always tricky. You have a plan in place and you have an idea of the team you want to put together. But sometimes the market, sometimes decisions going the wrong way, kind of steer you in other directions. And sometimes you got to kind of run audibles, when those moments happen, and it leads you down different paths. And some guys become more appealing. So it's just trying to piece together one thing at a time. And like I said, one phone call can change your mind on players and which way you want to go. So, depending on the market, but you try to stick to your plan as much as possible, and try to focus on that, because it's very easy to get off the beaten track, and then scramble and ended up losing a lot of guys because you can't make up your mind. So you just gotta make sure that you have that plan, you stick to it, and when a guy comes along that fits that, you gotta be quick on your decision.
Brilliant. Appreciate you taking the time to join us, Danny, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Okay, thanks, Chris.